The sun was setting over Millbrook, painting the sky in shade of amber and rose. I stood at the kitchen window, washing dishes from dinner, when I felt her arms wrap around my waist from behind. Warm breath tickled my ear as Yuki pressed herself against my back. "Daniel," she whispered, her voice carrying that playful lilt that always made my heart skip. "Walk with me tonight?" I turned to face my wife, taking in her delicate features, those striking amber eyes that seemed to glow in the fading light, the shock of white hair that cascaded over her shoulders, and those distinctive fox ears that twitched whenever she was excited. Her fluffy tail swished behind her, a telltale sign she was up to something. "Another walk?" I chuckled, drying my hands. "We went yesterday, love, and the day before that." She pouted, her ears flattening slightly. "Please? The forest is beautiful at twilight. It had been like this for the past 3 weeks. Every evening, without fail, Yuki insisted on our walks through the woods behind our cottage. Not that I minded. She was enchanting to watch as she bounded through the trees, her supernatural grace making her seem to float rather than run. But there was an urgency to her requests lately, something I couldn't quite identify. "All right," I agreed, and her face lit up with genuine relief. We set out just as the last rays of sunlight disappeared. The forest path was familiar now, worn smooth by our nightly excursions. Yuki walked ahead, her tail occasionally brushing against my leg. She wore a simple white sundress that contrasted beautifully with her pale skin. "You know," I said, catching up to her, "normal couples have date nights at restaurants. We have forest expeditions." She glanced back at me with a mischievous smile. "But you didn't marry a normal girl, did you, Daniel?" That was true. Our relationship had always been unconventional. I'd found her 2 years ago, injured near the forest edge, and nursed her back to health. What started as compassion became friendship, then something deeper. She never spoke much about her past, always deflecting my questions with kisses or clever subject changes. Tonight felt different, though. There was tension in her shoulders, and she kept glancing at the darkening sky as if reading something in stars. Her ears swiveled constantly, catching sounds I couldn't hear. "Yuki, is everything okay?" She stopped walking and turned to face me fully. In the moonlight filtering through the canopy, she looked ethereal, almost translucent. She reached up, cupping my face with both hands, her touch feather-light. "Do you trust me, Daniel?" "Of course I do. Even if I told you, everything about me isn't what it seems." Before I could answer, she took my hand and pulled me deeper into the forest, off the main path, into territory we'd never explored together. My heart raced, but not from fear, from anticipation. The forest grew denser as we ventured off-path. Branches seemed to part for Yuki, as if the trees themselves recognized her presence. I stumbled occasionally over roots, but her hand remained firm in mine, guiding me through the darkness. "Where are we going?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Something about this place demanded silence, reverence. "Somewhere I should have brought you long ago," she replied softly. After what felt like an eternity, but was probably only 10 minutes, we emerged into a clearing I'd never seen before. It was impossibly beautiful. A perfect circle of grass surrounded by ancient oaks, their branches forming a natural cathedral overhead. In the center stood a stone altar, covered in moss and glowing with soft, blue light. Yuki released my hand and walked to the altar. She placed both palms on its surface, and the glow intensified. When she turned back to me, tears streamed down her face. "I've been lying to you," she said, her voice breaking. My stomach dropped. "What do you mean?" "Not about loving you. That's the truest thing in my life. But about who I am. What I am." She took a shaky breath. "These walks aren't just walks, Daniel. They're rituals. Protective rites that keep you safe." "Safe from what?" Instead of answering, she closed her eyes. The air around her began to shimmer, like heat waves rising from summer pavement. Her form flickered. One moment she was my Yuki in her white dress, the next she was something else entirely. Something magnificent and terrifying. Her body grew taller, more ethereal. Instead of one tail, 9 pristine white tails fanned out behind her, each tipped with blue flame. Her ears lengthened, becoming more fox-like, and marks appeared on her skin, ancient symbols that pulsed with the same blue light as the altar. She wore flowing robes now, decorated with patterns that seemed to move and breathe. "I am Yukiheim," she said, her voice echoing with otherworldly resonance, "guardian of the Whispering Woods. For 3 centuries, I protected this forest and the town beyond it from dark things that lurk in the shadows between worlds." I stood frozen, unable to process what I was seeing. This couldn't be real. Yet here she was, my wife, transformed into something from legends and folklore. She took a tentative step toward me, her tails lowering. "Please say something, Daniel." Words failed me. How do you respond when your reality shatters? "The night you found me," she continued, her voice smaller now, more vulnerable, "I wasn't just injured. I was dying. A rift had opened, a tear between our world and the darkness. I fought to close it, but it cost me nearly everything. You saved my life. And you've been protecting me since then? Not just you." Her hand gestured toward the forest around us. "Everyone in Millbrook. Every night. These walks renew my power, reinforce the barriers that keep them safe." I sank down onto a fallen log, my legs suddenly unable to support me. Yukiheim, Yuki, remained standing, her ethereal form casting dancing shadows across the glade. The 9 tails behind her moved independently, swaying like living flames. "How long were you planning to hide this?" My voice came out harsher than intended. She flinched. "Forever, if I could." Her tails drooped. "Daniel, you have to understand, my world is dangerous. The things I fight, the entities that test the barriers, I wanted to keep you separate from all that. Safe. Normal. So you lied." I looked up at her, this impossible creature, wearing my wife's face. "Every day, you pretended to be something you're not. I didn't pretend to love you." She moved closer, kneeling before me. Even in her true form, her eyes held the same warmth, the same affection I'd fallen for. That part was always real. Yes, real. I couldn't bear to lose you. You thought I'd leave if I knew? Wouldn't you? Her voice broke. "I'm not human, Daniel. I'm a 300-year-old spirit bound to protect a forest. I should have never gotten involved with you in the first place. But I was selfish. When you cared for me, showed me such kindness without expecting anything in return, I couldn't help myself." I studied her face, still Yuki's face, despite the otherworldly enhancements. Those were still the eyes that crinkled when she laughed at my terrible jokes. That was still the mouth that kissed me goodnight every evening before these mysterious walks. "Show me," I said finally. She blinked. "Show you what?" "What you do. Why these walks matter. If this is really my life now, I want to understand it." Hope flickered across her features. Slowly, her form shimmered again, settling into something between her human appearance and her true self. She retained the 9 tails and the glowing marks, but her size returned to normal, and her features softened back to the Yuki I knew. She took my hand, and warmth flooded through me. Not sexual heat, but something deeper, more fundamental, like sunlight on skin after a long winter. "Close your eyes," she instructed gently. I did. Immediately, I felt the forest differently. I could sense presences, dark things circling at the edges of the glade, held back by invisible walls. They whispered in languages that made my skin crawl, promising violence and chaos. Then I felt Yuki's power surge through our joined hands. The whispers cut off abruptly, replaced by frustrated howls growing distant. The barrier strengthened, pulsing with protective energy that extended far beyond just this clearing. "Every night," she whispered, "I walk the perimeter of the protected zone. My presence reinforces what I built. Miss even one night, and the cracks begin to form." I opened my eyes. "You were protecting me all along. From all of this." She nodded, tears trailing down her cheeks. I stood, still holding her hand, and pulled Yuki to her feet. She looked at me with uncertainty, her tails twitching nervously behind her. "I need you to promise me something," I said seriously. She nodded, waiting. "No more secrets. If we're going to make this work, and I want to make this work, I need complete honesty. About who you are, what you do, everything. Her eyes widened. You're not leaving? Leaving? I cupped her face, feeling the ethereal warmth of her transformed skin. Yuki, I fell in love with your laugh, your terrible cooking, the way you hog all the blankets at night. I gesture at her tails, her glowing marks. This is just more of you to love. A sob escaped her throat. She threw her arms around me, burying her face in my chest. Her tails wrapped around us both, creating a cocoon of soft warmth and flickering blue light. I was so afraid, she whispered against my shirt. So terrified you'd see me as a monster. You're not a monster. You're a guardian. A protector. I tilted her chin up. You're my wife. That hasn't changed. She kissed me then, and it was different from any kiss we'd shared before. Not just passionate or loving, but electric, charged with the power flowing through her. I felt the forest responding around us, the trees swaying despite the still air, the moss on the altar glowing brighter. When we finally broke apart, both breathless, she was smiling through her tears. There's so much I want to show you, she said eagerly. So much I can teach you about this world, about magic, about... Later, I interrupted, pulling her closer. Right now, I just want to be with you. The real you. She shivered as my hands traced the marks on her arms, following the glowing patterns up to her shoulders. Daniel, these marks are sensitive. Good to know, I murmured, continuing my exploration. Her tails tightened around us, and she made a sound between a gasp and a purr. We should finish the ritual, she protested weakly even as she leaned into my touch. How long do we have? Until dawn. That's hours away. I kissed her neck, just below her ear. Surely we have time for both. Her laugh was breathless, magical. You're going to be the death of me, human. I thought I saved your life. You did. And then you made it worth living. She guided me down to the soft grass, her tails creating a bed beneath us. The altar's light pulsed gently, bathing everything in soft blue radiance. Above us, stars wheeled through gaps in the canopy, and for the first time since I'd known her, Yuki was completely, truly herself. And she was perfect. We lay together in the glade as the moon reached its apex, our bodies intertwined, her tails wrapped protectively around us. Yuki traced lazy patterns on my chest, her claws. I'd never noticed she had retractable claws before, leaving tingling trails on my skin. I suppose I should finish the ritual properly, she sighed contentedly. Will I always be able to see all this? I gestured at the glade, the glowing altar, the darkness beyond the barrier. If you want to. She propped herself up on one elbow, looking down at me seriously. Daniel, by bringing you here, by revealing myself fully, I've changed something fundamental between us. You're connected to Forrest now. Through me, you'll be able to sense things others can't. Is that dangerous? It can be, but it also means I can protect you better. And... She hesitated. You can help me if you choose to. I sat up, intrigued. How? The ritual is stronger when performed with someone I'm bonded to. Before I did it alone. But now, with you here, with you knowing the truth. She stood gracefully, extending her hand. Walk with me? Really walk with me this time. I took her hand, letting her pull me to my feet. She led me to the altar, placing my palm beside hers on the ancient stone. Immediately, warmth surged up my arm. Close your eyes and think about what you want to protect, she instructed softly. I did. Images filled my mind. Our cottage, the town of Millbrook, the families sleeping peacefully in their beds. And Yuki, always Yuki, fighting alone in the darkness for so long. Power flowed through me, through us, outward in rippling waves. I could feel the barrier expanding, strengthening, becoming something more resilient than before. The darkness beyond screamed in rage, pushing against the light, but it couldn't penetrate. When we opened our eyes, the entire glade glowed brilliant blue. Yuki's mark shone brighter than ever, and when I looked down, I saw faint traces of similar patterns appearing on my own skin. We're bonded now, she whispered, wonder in her voice. Truly bonded. Daniel, I've never been able to share this power before. I didn't know it was possible. What does it mean? It means you're mine and I'm yours in ways deeper than any marriage ceremony could create. She kissed me softly. It means we protect this place together. We walk together. We face whatever comes together. I pulled her close, feeling the rightness of it settling into my bones. No more secrets? No more secrets, she promised. As we made our way back through the forest, hand in hand, the sky beginning to lighten with approaching dawn, I realized my ordinary life hadn't ended. It had transformed into something extraordinary. Walking my fox girl wife would never be just a walk again, and I wouldn't have it any other way.